Hello and welcome to the Euro preview with sportsbet.io. It was a fascinating week in Europe last week. Plenty of strange results, plenty of big names getting a battering, and even the likes of Real Madrid didn't get themselves a win. We're going to hear from Juan, we're going to hear from Daniele, and joining us for the first time is our Bundesliga expert, Taufig, to talk about the first week of action in Germany. It should be a cracker, and we'll start in Spain. Well, joining me now is Juan Castro, of course, our Spanish friend and correspondent, I suppose, over in Spain. Spent some time in England, actually, this week as well, over in London, in some very nice parts and some not so nice parts. That's me saying that, not Juan. Juan, we will start with Real Madrid. I have some sympathy for Carlo Ancelotti here. They obviously drew 1-1 away at Mallorca. Mariki's goal, very, very good goal to bring things level as well. The fact is, Mallorca have had a full pre-season. Real Madrid have had players all over the place. Are Real Madrid going to be worried, or are they going to be able to say this won't matter long term? Yeah.
I think, in terms of Real Madrid, everybody get nervous with one draw. I think it's just the beginning of the season. Mallorca is not an easy place to play. Mallorca has a really strange way of playing, in the sense that so many kick balls, rushing game. Yeah. So it's quite difficult. This guy Murici is quite difficult to defend on the air balls. So I think a draw. Of course, people here in Madrid, is really disappointed with this draw, because they thought that they was going to win like 3-0 every game. But it's only the first game, so I will say that there is no terrible consequence here in Madrid. And of course, Carlo Ancelotti talked after the game that it was the fault. It was he blamed the whole team, not only the defenders. And I think in that way, Carlo Ancelotti can manage very well.
Oh, I mean, he's probably my favourite manager of all time, and it's strange that he never gets spoken of in the same way as a Guardiola, even though he's obviously achieved what he has, Ancelotti. What about Mbappe's debut? How did that go?
Well, I think it was quite well. I mean, in terms of he scored one goal, and that was in the Super Cup.
Yeah.
And afterwards, in the debut in La Liga. Of course, it was not the best debut, but we saw that he began to link with the other guys. I think it was not a brilliant game. I think, of course, he made part of the game of the action of the goal of Rodrigo, so that was fine. It was not a brilliant game of Mbappe, because it was not a brilliant game of the whole team. But I think, I can see like he's linking really well with the other teammates of the attack position, like Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Bellingham. So the conclusion, not a really good game, but I'm seeing that he's, constructing something with the other guys.
And just very quickly, speaking of Bellingham, you may not have seen this, there was a clip going around on Twitter of him almost marshalling Mbappe and marshalling Vinicius and sort of, before they went out for the second half, talking through some of the problems. That, to me, I know we all know Bellingham's qualities as a player, and we've seen him as a grown-up, despite the fact that he's incredibly young. But it was interesting to me that it was Bellingham sort of telling Mbappe. That was really fascinating to me.
Yeah, it was fascinating. This clip between Bellingham and Mbappe. Bellingham didn't want to run back because, of course, if they lost the ball, if they don't shoot the ball, they have to run back really quickly, and Bellingham doesn't like that. And it was very curious how he demanded this to Mbappe, that he has to shot, he has to create the space. I think he said, like, you have to create a yard and shoot, no? So that was very curious, and that's another thing that I told you, that I can see that they are linking really well, and that Mbappe is assuming his part in this show.
Yeah, and just going from being the big dog, possibly dictating transfers, to now not being told off by Bellingham. That's not fair, but listening in that way, it's a brand new dynamic, and it's going to be really interesting over the course of the season how that dynamic goes. Real Madrid back to the Bernabeu for the next game. Host Valladolid. They'll beat Valladolid, won't they? Surely.
Yeah, I mean, I will be there at 5 o'clock Sunday. So the traditional time to watch football in Madrid, in Spain in general, 5 o'clock at Sunday. It will be against Valladolid. Valladolid won the first game, that is true. But I mean, they have just came to the first division. You can realize that Valladolid is the club owned by Ronaldo, not Cristiano, but Ronaldo, the Brazilian. So the club belongs to Ronaldo. There were some rumors that he was going to read up from the club, but I mean, he stays in the club, and it will be curious to see Ronaldo in the palco, how you say that, in the VIP area of Bernabeu with Florentino. That will be the image of the game. But yeah, as you say, I mean, I would be surprised if Real Madrid doesn't win for 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah, 1.15 if you want to back that, Real Madrid to get the win. We'll move on to Barcelona. They obviously went to the Mestalla, won 2-1, but that was part of a really strange 5 minutes where it basically all happened in one big burst. Hansi Flick didn't seem too happy with the result, or at least the performance afterwards. Were Barcelona that bad?
I mean, not bad, because they won, and that's very important in a crisis situation that Barcelona is crossing right now.
Yeah.
But I would say that they have not really a good game. I mean, you know that in Barcelona there are now so many noise. Gundogan is going back to City. Nobody's understand that. They cannot inscribe some players for the first game. We suppose that Dani Olmo can be inscribed in La Liga to play this second game. So, you know, some really noisy things around Barcelona. There are so many noisy things that they didn't realize that they won the first game. So it was, as you say, not really good game. They won. That is very important for this crisis context in which Barcelona runs now. But now it's coming Athletic de Bilbao, which is a really hard game for them.
Yeah, 1.66 Barcelona in that. Will Bilbao, will they be frustrated with that 1-1 draw at the San Mamés?
Yeah, very frustrated. Very frustrated for 2 things. One, because they have not a good result, and secondly, because Nico Williams cannot play the whole game. He came just on the second part of the game, and you know, people of Bilbao wanted to see his new hero, which is Nico Williams. I think both Williams will be in the lineup from the beginning in the Camp Nou Stadium. But for Athletic Bilbao people, was a real frustration, these 2 things.
Yeah, 5.1, by the way, Bilbao to win that game. I'm very interested in that. And very, very quickly on Valencia, we know the problems of Valencia. This was 2 sides who obviously have vast problems off the field meeting as well, Valencia and Barcelona. Did they play as you expected them to, Valencia, or was there anything they can take from that in terms of a positive?
Well, I think they can take some positive things in terms of that they maintain their more or less their lineup, that they didn't sell already Martashvili. It's supposed to be sold, but maybe he's gonna stay on loan for 1 year more. So I mean, you know, the positive conclusion for Valencia is that they maintain more or less his team. So that's like the minimum thing they can have in this context, in this crisis context, because people in Valencia, they even in this situation, they need to see Valencia in the European position. So they are really ambitious, the people there. I mean, they are not conformist, so they want everything, even considering that they understand in the position Valencia is right now.
400 million euros and more of debt. That is real optimism. If you're a Villa fan, that is real optimism. We'll finish with a couple of other games. Villarreal, Atletico Madrid, 2-2 draw. Now, Diego Simeone is almost never happy. I think he'd have been very unhappy with this.
Yeah, very unhappy because of the 2 goals conceded.
Yeah.
I mean, if Simeone concede 1 goal, he's unhappy. He conceded 2 goals in the first part of the game. With what we comment here in the radio, in the newspapers, here in the tertulias, in the debates on the bars here in Madrid, is that Atletico Madrid is in the same line of the last season, in which they concede so many goals, which is not uncharacteristic of the Simeone team. So they have to improve a lot. I think they are going to sign Lenglet now.
Yeah.
Apart from Lenon-Bard, they're going to sign Lenglet. And also Jose Jimenez was injured, so I think he will come back very soon. But they are not really happy with the defense right now.
But in terms of attack, Soloth scores on his league debut.
Yeah, I mean, you mean Charlotte?
Yeah, Solot. Yeah, sorry, Solot.
Yeah. In terms of that, they are happy. It's true, but I mean, they expect a lot of goals from this guy, and also because Morata is not there anymore, Memphis is not there anymore. So, but it's curious. But here in Madrid, the Charlotte goal just passed like with any noise because everything was concentrated on Julian Alvarez's performance. Yeah. So like Charlotte is a second part of the Julian Alvarez focus. So it was very curious that.
It's nice being second part, even though you've scored. that can't be the nicest. They host Girona this weekend as well. 1.65 Atletico, Girona 5. Girona, I think, have a chance in that game. Maybe at least not to lose.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, Girona will be also in that game after Bernabeu because we have time to go to the other one. So we will double. We will have a double match on Sunday in Madrid, but Girona has their chance, of course, because as I told you, the defense of Atletico is not still in a good position. So I think they have a lot of chances, yes, because Girona still plays in a very attractive way of playing football. And I think they have their chances, yes, of course.
And just, I wanted to ask you about maybe a strange game to talk about, but Real Betis obviously took on Girona and drew 1-1 at home in that opening game. They obviously travel to Alaves for their next league game. However, they have got a Champions League game against Krivbas in between. So I was looking at this and how Alaves obviously got on in their opening game, obviously losing away at Celta Vigo, not an awful result. Alaves are a strange one here because I think they might be able to get Real Betis. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree.
Good.
I agree. I think Alaves lost his first game. Betis has a new team. They have sold some guys like Guido Rodriguez, etc. Isco is still injured. Fekir is the new captain, but he didn't perform very well in the first game. Well, I think Alaves can have their chance because also Pellegrini is unhappy with his new team. I think he's demanding new signs. We will see what happens, but I agree. I think Alaves can have the chances. Yes.
Yeah, 2.38 if you fancy that. Juan, as always, mate, an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Did you say that both Madrid games are on the same afternoon? Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's 5 o'clock and 9 o'clock could be. I'm not
5
sure,
o'clock
but
and 9 o'clock.
I try to be in both games. Yeah, I plan my afternoon in Madrid watching both games.
And if you're going to Madrid this week, it's going to be interesting getting around the city centre. On that day in Gaeta. It's going to be fun. I would probably add an extra hour to your travel, maybe 45 minutes. Stop somewhere, take a water, that kind of thing. Juan, thank you so much as always. Absolute pleasure. We will speak to you next week. Well, joining us now is our friend Daniele Verri. We're going to talk about the opening week of Serie A with a little look towards what is to come in this coming round. Daniele, 4 teams won, which obviously means 4 teams lost. The rest were draws, but no team perhaps more surprising in terms of the loss and the manner of the loss than Napoli. Absolutely battered by Verona.
Absolutely true, mate. Yes, I mean, Napoli looked pretty clueless throughout the game. I mean, they had their chances in the first half. They could have gone in the lead. They didn't make any of the 3 chances they had in the first half. And then as soon as Verona scored the first, they honestly looked like if they didn't have the guts to come back into the game. So Antonio Conte said that at the end of the game, my heart is bleeding. I am honestly ashamed for the fans. Well, I also hope that some of the players' hearts are bleeding too at the moment. So it was a clear message to the players.
I know that it hurts, and I know that Antonio Conte is an emotional guy, but if you're a fan or you're a player after one game, hearing him speak in that way, does that feel too extreme, or I suppose is that just the culture and what Napoli expect?
It's probably Antonio Conte, the culture of Antonio Conte. So you know him from England, and we know him well from Italy also. Yeah. So he's a man of direct messages, and that's what he did straight away. So, I mean, they need to wake up. They are coming from a disastrous season, finishing 10th after winning the title the season before. So Antonio Conte spread a lot of emotions and a lot of excitement. Obviously, his arrival, but I mean, they need to change gear if they are to forget the season they just had. So, and Antonio Conte was adamant.
After that performance, I am not convinced they beat Bologna.
I'm not sure they are convinced, to be honest. So, given the performance they had in the first round, it's quite difficult to beat a good Bologna side. We've seen them playing Udinese. They could have won the game. They went in the lead, and then they conceded a penalty. Skorupski even saved the penalty, and then Udinese scored in the following corner kick. I mean, Bologna had the chances to win. Bologna should have won. Bologna managed quite well, surprisingly well, the shift from Thiago Motta to Italiano. Let's see where it's going to take them. The season is going to be long. They've got plenty of games to come up. I mean, no game can be taken for granted, especially if you show performances like the one you did in Verona. I mean, I know for a fact, I'm sure at least, that Antonio Conte is going to talk to his players very clearly this week, and that they will have to somehow react a bit to what happened, because this is not something he can somehow accept.
Yeah, Napoli 1.92 by the way to win that game. I'd much prefer Bologna at 4.1. Prices, of course, right at the time of recording. Another side who perhaps will be very disappointed was Internazionale, Inter Milan, if you will, in that they conceded last minute. Now, they did have some key names out. De Vrij wasn't available, of course. Zielinski wasn't available, of course. But a late equaliser, and from the sound of it, not a brilliant performance.
I mean, Inter had the game in their hand, so they had a lot of chances in the first half. They could have put the game to bed in the first 35 minutes, to be honest. They didn't, and then they went one down with a mistake by the goalkeeper, if you want, and then they turned the game around, should have closed the game again, didn't, and they conceded a very unusual for them penalty in injury time. So, I mean, I'm sure they are disappointed. They were expecting to come out with the 3 points from Genoa, but consider that they never did that since Simone Inzaghi took over more than 3 years ago. So they never won in Genoa against Genoa. It's a difficult place to be. It's not easy to play the team managed by Gilardino. I mean, they lost Retegui, who's a massive. They lost Gudmundsson also, who were 2 massive key players in their tactical formation, but the rest of the team has remained, and the keeper, but the rest of the team has remained unchanged, and you could see a sort of a consistency compared to last season. Genoa is a good club. Genoa is a good team. They play good football, and it's not easy for them. Still, Inter should have won. They wanted the 3 points. They didn't get them. Be unsafe at the back, which is quite unusual for them. I don't know. I mean, but that penalty should never consider a handball penalty in the 90-plus minute, given there was no real danger in that.
Yeah, they take on Lecce this week as well, 1.21 into. As much as they should have killed off their opponents this weekend. I mean, after what Lecce, and we'll talk about this in more detail in a second, happened against Atalanta, Inter are winning that game surely.
There by a large margin.
By a large margin, 2-3.
I guess so. I don't know. I mean, the last games that Inter played at San Siro against Lecce were all clear wins for Inter. But apart from that, there's a massive difference in terms of quality. Lecce have changed their manager, lost a couple of good players. I can't see them opposing any resistance, to be honest. And Inter will have to bounce back from that unexpected draw. But again, it's not easy to play in Genoa, so it's so good. So good.
Yeah, Daniel's quite right, by the way. Back-to-back wins to nil last season for Inter Milan, 2-0 and 4-0 wins. So it might be hard for Lecce in particular because they were battered by Atalanta this week. This was the most comprehensive win of this first round of Serie A fixtures. And after an unsettled summer, as we were talking about last week, Daniele, I'm pretty sure that Gianpiero Gasperini will be very, very happy with this opening day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a summer of rumors, or at least the last 2 weeks of rumors with Ademola Lookman and Cobb Miners asking to be left out of the squad. If you consider that this weekend, they didn't have those two. They didn't have Scamacca, who was injured. They didn't have Zaniolo. I mean, they were missing key players up front, definitely. Still, they scored 4. I mean, Retegui and Brescianini, 2 new arrivals, scored a brace each, played a very good game. Lecce, maybe... I had the feeling they were on the pitch for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then it was over. Atalanta took over on the pitch, and that was it. So there was no game left. I mean, Lecce are meant to be strong in the air, at least at the back, but I've seen Retegui and Brescianini doing whatever they wanted. They left them also coming from the side and put the balls into the penalty area. I mean, if you got Retegui in there, who's very good with his header, I mean, I don't want any ball to come in there in the first place. And that didn't happen, and that was it. That was the end of the game already.
Much tougher game for them this week, though. They go to Turin, take on Torino, of course. Got a draw we'll speak about again in just a second. That 2-2 draw, that is a much, much harder game for Atalanta. I mean, obviously, Torino 3.15, Atalanta 2.4 to win that. But that is a really fascinating match, that one.
Yeah, mainly because of what we've seen from Torino. So if you would expect, given the circumstances and all of the rumors about Atalanta, you would expect them to win at Lecce. But Torino playing a good draw and actually being the better team on the pitch at the San Siro and deserving to come out with the 3 points was not to be expected. But then again, it was what happened. So Torino were the better team. They were 2-0 up, and then they only conceded a couple of goals in the very last few minutes of the game, one in injury time at 95th. There were reasons also for it, for Milan not being so performant at the beginning of the game, and at least in the first 60, 70 minutes of the game. But then again, Torino were solid. Torino were good. So
that's going to be a really intriguing game. You mentioned AC Milan there as well.
Only one thing. Sorry if I interrupt you. One thing. Bellanova, who's a very important player for Torino, is moving now from Torino to Atalanta. So we might see him with his new shirt on at the weekend. I mean, Atalanta were needing somebody on the right-hand side or on the wing, and then they just went in with 20 plus million and said, we need that man. I mean, Atalanta is already planning with the money they will get for Cobb Miners, because Cobb Miners will not be part of the squad next season.
We've spoken about Torino, obviously, there and what they're going to do in the future, but we did mention AC Milan, and you mentioned in passing, but let's just very briefly talk about this in a bit more detail. It was the subs that saved it for them, wasn't it, the weekend?
I mean, Fonseca decided not to field those players who had gone a long way at the last UEFA Euro 2024. So Theo Hernandez was on the bench. Morata was obviously on the bench. Also newcomers like the Emerson Royal was on the bench. Fofana had just arrived. He didn't take to the pitch. Pavlovic, who came from Salzburg, didn't take to the pitch at the beginning. As they, let's say, almost all came in from the 60th minute on, as the manager had said during the press conference the day before the game, Milan obviously go bit better. Still, they attacked, but I saw a lot of confusion on the pitch. They were very slow with the ball, circulating very slowly. I don't know, they need to speed up their game if they want to be more competitive against Parma the weekend.
Do you think people will be worried about AC Milan off the back of that? Or will they say, like you were saying, most of our best players didn't start, we're frustrated with the draw, but it's against an okay team, we've just got to kind of do better? There won't be any worry at the moment at AC Milan, will there, I don't think?
I mean, it's only the first match day, so you don't want to be worried after one game. So no one should be worried now. No, even Lecce, if you want, should be that worried now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Morata is out injured for a couple of weeks now because he picked up an injury against Torino, scored a goal in the end, but he won't be available for the next couple of games. That's going to be a problem because we've seen Jovic struggling a little bit to link up with his teammates against Torino on match day one. But then again, we will have Fofana on the pitch. We will have Teo Hernandez from the start. Possibly Emerson Royal, Pavlovic in the center of the defense. I mean, AC Milan conceded more than 40 goals last season, and still they finished second. So they definitely had an issue in their back four and in front of the defense. So now Fofana and Pavlovic should help solving those issues.
Yeah, and they're 1.73 away at Parma. They will probably feel much more confident. They'll feel much more of these better players, or at least first-team players. And I think they'll win at Parma, won't they? Oh.
I don't know. Parma played a very convincing game during against Fiorentina. Drew 1-1, but deserved all of the 3 points, in my opinion.
Right.
It's not going to be, I don't know if it's going to be an easy game. It's difficult to predict. We're still in August. So it's honestly difficult to see how quick a team can change within a week. Okay, because we are in the very early stages of the season. Having said that, the inclusion of the AC Milan stars should make them definitely favorite in Parma.
Yeah, 1.73 AC Milan.
But I'm not sure if 1.73 doesn't mean that they have already won for the bookmakers.
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Definitely favourites, but absolutely not. 4.6 Parma. And let's have a quick word on Roma to finish off here. They've obviously got this Dybala thing running in the background as well. Roma, to me as an outsider, they seem very, very stuck. And that doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean they're going to have an awful year. It just means as a club they feel, to me, stuck. Is that fair?
The Dybala issue? Or
just across the board? Just philosophically, they just feel a bit stuck to me.
I mean, they have invested money in the summer, and the new owners, not new owners in the meantime. So the Friedkin family have been there for a while now. So they've almost invested €1 billion in the club so far. They are making a new stadium soon. It's always difficult. Rome is a very difficult. Ask Capello. Rome is a very difficult place to do football. So not only Capello, it's a very difficult place.
Ask every manager who's ever managed Roma. Yeah,
exactly. To do things there is very difficult. Not only in football, but in football obviously too. I don't know if they're stuck, but they are trying to progress. They have faith in De Rossi, which is good because he proved good last season. They have invested money in the summer. What we've seen so far and what we've seen throughout the last 2 seasons is that Roma with Dybala are something, and Roma without Dybala are something different, something worse. So obviously Dybala earns, I think, something like 9 million a year. So renouncing to Dybala means also not paying 18 million gross a season for him because 50% are taxes. Still, for the club, there's money to be paid, and they will get apparently around 20 million for him to leave to Saudi Arabia. I mean, it's a lot of money that they save and that they get for a player who's over 30. Having said that, as soon as he came in on the pitch the other night, you could feel his presence. I mean, everyone who's played football knows that if you play with good players on your side, you play better too. So, and Dybala is a catalyst for that. So not only he does things on his own on the pitch, but he also allows others to play better.
And that's the
I don't
issue,
know. I think De Rossi, sorry if I interrupt you, but De Rossi said, I will be scared. I mean, he said it. Yeah, he basically said it like that. I will be scared to think of a Roma without Dybala, and I fully agree with him. I mean, even though he's a player who gets injured quite often, he's a player who's decisive for them.
Because it's not just getting the money and getting the wages off, is it? It's then replacing that impact in the side as well. It's a two-way swing, and that's not always the easiest. Selling a player, theoretically, isn't that difficult in the scheme of things. Replacing that player's impact, it can be very, very tough. Roma, of course, and expensive, yeah. Roma take on Empoli this week as well, 1.51. Are they going to win at the Stadio Olimpico in that one, do we think?
Yeah. They should be winning this. I mean, Empoli are a compact side. They played 0-0 draw against Monza the weekend without conceding anything, without even trying anything, basically, because it was a clear 0-0 from a week before to me, because no one wanted to risk anything, neither Nicola nor Nesta, who was at his debut, or Serie A debut. But I mean, at the Stadio Olimpico with a full house and the crowd roaring and everything, I can't see Roma not scoring at least 2 or 3. Yeah, even though they were not dangerous against Cagliari, but Cagliari is a better side than Empoli.
And opening days can provide some strange results as well on those occasions as well. 1.51 Roma if you fancy backing that. Daniele, as always, an absolute pleasure, my friend. We will speak to you again very, very soon. As Daniele Verri, of course, our friend over in Italy. Well, the final league to join us, of course, in the major European ones anyway, is the Bundesliga. We're joined now by Taufig Khalil, the German friend of ours, shall we say, a German commentator who's going to give us his expertise across this league. It is such a great-looking league this year, Taufig. A really, really good-looking league. We'll start with Bayern Munich. So many questions, which is a strange thing to say over Bayern Munich this season. Vincent Kompany goes in, but that was the result of a long managerial search and a club that is not settled.
Absolutely. There is still a lot of discussions. Well, now finally they found Vincent Kompany. Well, we don't know if it is the pick number 10, 11, 12 or 13 of last year's or of this last season's search for a new manager. A lot of unrest going on, a new management, but the old management with the old big heads like Uli Hoeneß, who is the legend of the club, who made all this happen at Bayern Munich, still there. They are not officially, they are only on the board, but they still ruling. Whatever Uli Hoeneß says, whatever Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, who made this club so big, whatever they say, it's word. And if they are not happy, then they are not happy, and they still not able to let the others do without commenting, and that always brings a lot of unrest. And so the big question is, if, say, Vincent Kompany will not always perform with his team in the first 2-3 months, will Uli Hoeneß, will Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, will they be quiet? Will they be silent, or will they put pressure with commands? And this is what makes it very important that there is there's silence from the top. Kompany, as I said, young coach, not much older than most of his players. He needs all the backing he can get.
Well, you mentioned that as well. I was going to ask you about Bayern's squad this season, because there is obviously unbelievable world-class talent across it. But from an outsider, it feels to me like it's a squad that needs a big refresh. And is the desire there for Bayern to do that?
Well, the normal reaction when Bayern Munich is not winning a title, we had that the last time in 2012, was buy, attack. And I think what they are trying to do now is the reaction to a lot of things that started years ago. Last year they won the title on the last match day, and nobody knew why, because Borussia Dortmund, they had it, but they finally at the end they didn't want it enough, so Bayern get it. And maybe that was the reason why they thought, okay, yeah, we still there, we can still go on, and that's why they only put a lot of pressure on Harry Kane, threw all the money on Harry Kane, and thought with Harry Kane everything got better. But well, this is the first year without a title where Harry Kane, the big superstar, is now playing for Bayern Munich. So now they saw that they need more than only a Harry Kane.
Yeah,
they need players like Thomas Tuchel. His big desire was for a player who plays there in the central midfield in front of the defense, like Joao Palhinha. Thomas Tuchel said that, and he got a lot of critics for that, because when he said that during the Asian tour last year, he demolished Joshua Kimmich, who was playing on that position. So he didn't get Palhinha. Palhinha is now there. Yeah, now Company gets the player Thomas Tuchel wanted 1 year ago. This is so crazy, and I would really like to ask Thomas Tuchel how you feel about that, with all these players coming now, with Palhinha, with Michael Olise, with all that. New player.
I think what's interesting, just we will move on from Bayern in just a second, but they're 1.5 to win the title. I'm not sure I want to back a short price for Bayern to win the title this season. But just on Kane, the thing I found really interesting about Kane was, as an individual last season, he broke records and was an unbelievable success. But it felt at times, and this is a strange thing to say, that it was detrimental to the wider team as a whole.
Well, actually, I met him several times, and I think he's an excellent player. He's a gentleman. He can help the club a lot. But for my feeling, a lot of players started to feel like, oh, we have Harry Kane. He's the guy who will deliver, and there was not enough wits in the team. So a lot of these players started to think, that was the feeling we had. Hey, we have Harry Kane. He will score, and if I don't show what I have to show, no problem, because there is no other player who can substitute me. There was not enough pressure. Now, a big team, a lot of pressure for each and every player to deliver every weekend. But coming back to Kane, the big question is, how did he survive this European championship? Because it's another loss of a title for him, still without a title. How is his feeling? I think for him it's very important to score in the first 3, 4, 5 games a lot of goals, that the self-confidence comes back. Because I think if I would be Harry Kane, in my mind would be, hey, come on, is it really that what everybody says? A team with Harry Kane cannot win a title?
Well, they haven't so far, and a lot of what you just discussed there, I think a lot of Spurs fans, Tottenham Hotspur fans, certainly will sort of identify with that as well, with his time at the club. They travel to the Volkswagen Arena and they take on Wolfsburg for this first game. Bayern Munich, Ralf Hasenhüttl, of course, now in charge at Wolfsburg, who themselves have had numerous problems over numerous years. Are we confident that Bayern Munich win that game? I think they probably do.
Well, they are favorites. When you see how they showed up in the preseason, excellent in the German Cup, very good appearance in the first match last week against the second division team. It looks all good. I think they are set for that match. It looks like all these players find their positions. Kimmich is back from the right back now in the central midfield, alongside with Palhinha or with Alexander Pavlovic. We'll see how Olise, he looked very good on a test some days ago, how Michael Olise will play there on the wing. It looks like Leroy Sané will be back very soon. Harry Kane scored twice now in the last 2 test matches. I think they are ready for that match, but they need to win. Otherwise, if they start, that's what I said at the beginning, there will be some unrest. There will be some things coming up from the old guys in the club.
Yeah. And those old guys have brought many years of success to Bayern Munich, but they can, as we've seen before with even Nagelsmann and a few others, they can certainly stand in the way as well. One club who absolutely flew last year and will be delighted with the summer they've had so far is Bayer Leverkusen. Xabi Alonso was expected by many to go, whether it was Bayern, whether it was Liverpool. He didn't. He's still in charge at the club. They've not lost any key name. I mean, I think Adam Hlošek's gone, but that's not a big problem at all. They've kept their key players. They've kept their key manager. This feels like a club who will be able to challenge again, Taufig.
Well, absolutely. This is absolutely. And if you would ask me, if you give you £1 to bet on which team to win the champions, the German Bundesliga, I would prefer to bet it on Bayer Leverkusen instead of Bayern Munich, because, as you said, they have their coach who knows the team very well. They have their system who knows, every player knows it because every player stayed there. Bayern Munich, who are the major contender. I want to show something. This is my favorite. This is a football fan sign, and it shows Xabi Alonso floating there on top, very relaxed, with the German Meisterschale in his hand. And this is like Jaws, but this thing here in the middle are the T's are like the logo of Bayern Munich. So that's fantastic.
I love that. That T thing is just genius. Like I would never have put that together. That is genius. Although they might be getting a call from Steven Spielberg, but I love that front cover. I mean, like you say,
everybody knows. Yeah, but everybody knows what happened with the shark in Jaws. Finally, the shark
catches
did not succeed, and Leverkusen, some new players. Alex Garcia from Girona, midfielder, very strong, Spanish national player. Martin Terrier from France, winger from Rennes, as long as another guy called Bellonian from France. He's in the defense. So. These are not players with big names. Bayern Munich is buying players with big names, cost a lot of money. Leverkusen didn't spend more than 20 million for a player. And Xabi Alonso is a guy who develops these players in his system. And alongside with the squad, which all the key players stay together, for me, it is very tough. Bayern Munich is not, they are attacking Leverkusen, but it's absolutely not safe that they can break that.
No. Like you say, by the way, just very quickly on the outrights, Bayern 1.5 to win the league. Oh, we'll get that audio sorted. And Bayer Leverkusen 3.5. Now 3.5 to 1.5. I know which one I'm with you, Taufig. I'd rather back of those two. They're away at Mönchengladbach, by the way, Bayer Leverkusen on the opening days. They take on the Foles. We'll have a very quick word on Borussia Mönchengladbach, just because they're a team I personally really like. They're also the hardest team in Germany to understand, I think, aren't they?
Well, it is. It's a team with a lot of history. They play the opening match against Leverkusen. It's a tough one for the beginning, and I'm pretty sure after that match we know much more about Gladbach. They lost a lot of the old players. They didn't buy very much big names. I think Coach Gerardo Seoane needs an idea how to deal with it. For me, if they will make it, say, up to 8 or 9 on the table of the Bundesliga, they could be happy. It's not more. At the beginning, they really need points that they will not, at the end, get into trouble.
Yeah, and there is still time for Florian Neuhaus, who I was really excited about a number of years ago. I think he's 26, 27 now. He was going to be a big star, and it just hasn't quite panned out for him. I always was really excited about him, but sadly not panned out. Now, Dortmund are an intriguing side, of course. They've had a managerial change in the summer. Nuri Sahin, of course, at the moment, keeping an eye on things at the club. Fifth last season, obviously having lost, as you mentioned a moment ago, the title on the last day of the year before. Obviously bringing in Sancho on loan last year did help improve things a little bit. But I said this actually about Roma when we did our Italian preview earlier. Dortmund seem a bit stuck at the moment to me, Taufig. They just seem a bit stuck.
Well, it depends how Sahin will approach his team. I think they bought excellent. They did a great job. Füllkrug is history. He's now gone. He's now in the Premier League. But a lot of other players, and especially the guy from Stuttgart who came, Serhou Guirassy, he is very fast. He plays very attacking football. He's an excellent striker. Maximilian Bayer, who played an excellent European Championship with Germany. He came in from Hoffenheim. Pascal Gross from Brighton and Hove Albion came to Dortmund. A lot of experienced players who can help that club. who gained their self-confidence back was playing the Champions League final. They lost it. Okay, you can lose to Real Madrid in the Champions League final. There are other teams who did that before, but for Borussia Dortmund, I think they know what they can. But it's not anymore that it's only Bayern Munich. No, we have a German Bundesliga with more than one shark to circle around Xabi Alonso. There's a big white one that's called Bayern Munich, but the rest of the sharks also have a lot of teeth. Like Dortmund is there, Leipzig. They lost Dani Olmo, but they brought in other players. Wadrogo from Schalke, a young guy. We'll see what's going on. They have a smart coach. Leipzig is always a good one, but they are, as I said, it's a big surprise what happened last year with Leverkusen and with Stuttgart before Bayern Munich. No one knows what's going on with Stuttgart. Can they survive playing in the Bundesliga and the Champions League, or is it too much? Because we've seen clubs who play over their limit struggle the season after when they play international.
Yeah, and they're opening their account, aren't they? Dortmund against Frankfurt, who are 4.6. Dortmund 1.71. Frankfurt lost William Pacho to PSG, but they're in an interesting position as well. Not a bad season at all for them last year, finishing 6th. It was a perfectly good year after what's been actually overall, over the last 5 or 6 years, a good run for Eintracht Frankfurt as well. You mentioned in passing there Leipzig. They've lost Dani Olmo, as you mentioned. They have signed a young superstar. For those of you who play a certain football management game in this country, there will be a name I'm sure you recognise in Asan Huitraugo, who is expected to go on to do very many big things. Has been signed from Schalke, who we're not going to talk about because obviously they're in the league below. They're in the Bundesliga fight, and they're also a mess.
18 years old.
18 years old, Asan Huitraugo, meant to be an absolute superstar. It'd be interesting. Obviously, we know this Leipzig project. We've seen this Leipzig project for a number of years, and it's worked. Overall, it has worked. There's no question about it. But it hasn't worked to the point of them winning leagues, which I know in Germany is hard, or even really challenging a great deal in Europe either. They are 13 to win the title this year. What's good for Leipzig? What is good for them this year?
I think that as I said, they have a very experienced coach. They know each other very well. They lost Dani Olmo, but I think this team was Antonio Nusa, who is now in, a winger from Brugge, who's new, will find their way around. And there's always more clubs from the Red Bull empire who have interesting players. And if there is an interesting player in Salzburg or New York, we'll pretty soon see him in Leipzig. So I think for Leipzig, it's always the first half of the season is to test how good is the team, and then the second half, I would not be surprised if you're gonna see players from all the others from the big empire moving on to Leipzig.
They kept hold of Šeško as well, which is obviously a huge boon for them on the field, certainly in the short term. Loïc Openda, of course, very good frontman. They've got a good squad there, Leipzig, and 13 is a big price for them to win that title. Well, Leipzig take on Bochum, obviously, in this opening game of the season. Bochum never good away from the Ruhrstadion. I mean, ultimately here, Taufig, Leipzig are going to win this, 3, 4, maybe 5? Bochum on the road, always opposable.
Yeah, but maybe this is the chance for Bochum because
right.
everybody expects these things to happen, and it's at the beginning of the season. It's almost easier for the teams who play this destroyer football to gain something than it is, say, after 7, 8, 9 games, because Leipzig needs to get into their system, into their flow, needs to learn how to play this kind of football Marco Rose wants to see. For Bochum, who is playing football to survive in the league, it's easier. They just have to destroy the way Leipzig plays. So if you have a chance as a very small team to take something out of that match, out of these matches, then for me, it's at the beginning of the season, because all these big teams like Bayern Munich, like Leverkusen, they need to get into a flow. And that's what is very important.
Oh, Bochum a 9.2. If you fancy backing that, that's a big old price. Just very quickly, I know we need to move on, and this isn't very important, but I've just seen that Felix Passlack is only 26. He's been around for 100 years, hasn't he? How's he only 26? That's absolutely bonkers. At the bottom end of the Bundesliga this season, were there any sides that you felt might surprise us, might really struggle, or any small teams that perhaps we've not spoken about but have a great chance of surprising us all?
Well, the interesting thing is, at the end of the season, there's always at least one team no one ever thought about that they might get relegated. So, as I said, Mönchengladbach needs a very good start. Hoffenheim has a lot of trouble now. They play international on the one side, but they had a lot of trouble. They lost players. They have a lot of trouble in the club. There's a lot of fights inside the club. They lost their manager. Not their manager, their technical directors and things like that. I think 3 or 4 guys were fired this summer. So I think Hoffenheim needs a good start. Otherwise, they will get in trouble. And then, of course, you have Kiel, which is one of the new teams, very small team, big surprise that they play now in the Bundesliga. For me, it would be a surprise if they can survive this Bundesliga. St. Pauli, strong crowd. Hamburg, it's big for Hamburg to be back on the Bundesliga map. St. Pauli, a club with a lot of heart, a lot of action. Everybody likes St. Pauli. I hope that they can survive. It would be good for the Bundesliga. Have a club from Hamburg with that power, 35,000 people. And then we'll see. We'll see. I'm pretty sure one of the teams we're not discussing right now will give us some talks at the end of the season.
I mean, if you're a Hamburg fan, the fact is that St. Pauli get back into the Bundesliga before you do. That is tough to swallow. That is very, very tough to swallow. And I just want to grab you on one more team. I promise I'll let you go. Union Berlin. Now, I've actually been to the Fusterei many years ago and had one of the best days out of my entire life in that ground watching that game. They're taking on Greta at the time. And they were 2 of the better teams in the Bundesliga Zwei at that point. Union we saw do really well a couple of years ago, and it looked like everything was moving forward at a heck of a pace. But then last year happened. What are we expecting from the club this year?
Well, what happened last year is that what I said before about clubs who play over the limit, who qualify for the Champions League, and then Wednesday you play Saturday, you play in Augsburg, then you fly to Real Madrid, you almost win in Real Madrid. Real Madrid win this match in the 93rd, 94th minute, as they always do at the end. It breaks your heart. You fly home. The legs are heavy. Weekend, you play Saturday, you play, Darmstadt, and then you lose Darmstadt because your mind is still in Bernabeu and things like that. I think that's what happened. That's why Union Berlin never made it into the season last year. So from this point, no danger because they're not playing international this season. They have what they really need is to get back to their old limit. They did a lot of crazy things with that qualification for the Champions League. They brought in players from Inter Milan and from whatever old guys because they thought we need experienced players. And what happened is they broke this team spirit they have into this team, and now they need back to that spirit into that club. And then I'm pretty sure they will play a good role. I don't think that they will have to fight to survive as they did last year for a long time.
So a better year, but not a great one, are we saying with Union here?
Well, I would say after last year, if they will make it to 7, 8, content with Borussia Mönchengladbach, maybe for the 7 or 8 spot, they'll be happy.
So very quickly, I'm going to pin you down. Who wins the Bundesliga?
Wow. Give me a pound. I will say 60 pence on Leverkusen, 40 on Bayern Munich.
Okay, I'm not sure of the maths there, but 3.5 Bayern and Bayern Munich there, 1.5. And just give me one team you think are definitely going down.
Kiel.
Kiel. Holstein Kiel will be the selection. Taufig, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great chat. Looking forward to it. And I'm going to keep thinking about the front of that fan magazine for probably the rest of the day as well. Appreciate that. We will speak to you very shortly. Take care, mate.